it is messy, messy, messy over at Fox Sports. An avalanche has hit Fox Sports. Names are being brought up. Lawsuit dropped against multiple personalities, the company, an individual executive. It is going crazy bananas at Fox Sports. But are you really surprised? By now, you've probably seen a whole bunch of videos on this topic. I learned about it last night. By that time, it was too late for me to drop a video. But the funny thing was, I had a special guest, Mika from the Red Cup Talk podcast, and we actually discussed Joy Taylor directly and the fake personality that she presents, the men bashing personality that she presents on her individual podcast that has absolutely nothing to do with sports, and the fact that she gets away with it with no repercussions. Yet Jeff Teague on Club 520 podcast has Charleston White, and he gives his opinion on Angel Reese. And what do you get? Tons of backlash. Cancel Charleston White. Cancel Jeff Teague. Hell, cancel Shannon Sharp because Jeff Teague's under Shannon Sharp's podcast brand, I believe. All kinds of things going on. But Joy Taylor gets that free ride. It's crazy to think that we discussed this yesterday. I did drop a clip with myself and Mika, and it is already up. And it had nothing to do with this lawsuit, nothing at all. But now I'm going to talk about this lawsuit. If you don't know by now, which you may or may not, my day-to-day life, I work with law firms. I work with lawyers. So I am very knowledgeable when it comes to law, to the legal field. I am not an attorney, albeit I did work in a law firm for 15 years. So I do have a lot of legal knowledge and experience. My father was a lawyer. Most of my closest friends are lawyers. My father was also a judge in Miami-Dade County, Florida. So I have a long history of legal background. I mean, I worked in the legal field for I worked in law for, I've worked in legal for, over 25 years now. So even if I'm not an attorney, I do have a general knowledge of the law and legal and lawsuits and etc. I've drafted lawsuits, so I know what's what. Now, this lawsuit is something else, man. This lawsuit is something else. But before we start off, I want to welcome you back to Rudy's Rant, powered by Coming Out the Podcast. I'm your host, Rudy Rodriguez Showmont. This is where we talk facts over feelings, and I'm going to be talking a lot of facts. And I'm going to get some feelings because I do know I have a pretty decent knowledge of the history of Joy Taylor. I am from South Florida. Her brother is Jason Taylor, former Miami Dolphin, played for the Jets for a second, the Redskins for a second, and now and then came back to the Dolphins to retire. He is actually a college coach now at the University of Miami. I believe they're probably talking about him becoming the defensive coordinator. But Joy Taylor, she started off her career or whatever it was down here in Miami. At least she went to Barry University. She did run track. She was a bartender. And this is all written actually in the complaint, but I knew of her when she was on the radio down here in South Florida and always wondered how the hell did this person with zero experience get on the radio? We all knew it probably had something to do with Jason Taylor because he has massive influence down here. But welcome aboard again. If you're new to this channel, please be sure to like, subscribe, follow. This will be a deep dive. This will be a conversational piece. And understand that everything I say here will be based on allegedly, because allegedly this is a lawsuit. So this does not make it fact. While I do believe pieces of it, parts of it, maybe a large portion of it is fact, I'm sure there are things that are done in lawyer speak to make it sound more than maybe what it is. But I also do believe that a lot of this stuff is fact. And when you deal with corporate America, if you've ever worked in corporate America, and I worked in corporate, like corporate. When I mean corporate America, I mean like you work in a company that has 3, 4, 5, 6,000 employees or more. And I worked in a company that had that type of environment. It was a college campus where I worked for a few years, 3.5 years exact. And the things that I read in this complaint, I saw and I heard of happening, and I knew for a fact they happened in my former company. I mean, it when you're dealing in sales, competition, all those things. I mean, the media market's very competitive, folks. Like people will do whatever they got to get to where they want to be. And in sales, you want to position yourself for the next opportunity. Maybe you move up from rep to manager, even though the reps make more than the managers, but then you go above the manager to the director who covers half the country. Then you go to I mean, there's positions and plots and all that stuff in corporate America. If you haven't worked in that environment, you wouldn't know, because I didn't know until I did. And I'm like, oh my God. And that was in my 30s. So let me tell you something. It gets dirty and it gets messy, right? Let's talk about this. There is a lawsuit now filed by Nushin Faraji, who was a former hairstylist at Fox Sports. She has filed a class action complaint, an individual complaint. The class action component is failure to pay minimum wages, failure to pay overtime wages, failure to reimburse business expenses, failure to actually, I'm going to put it up here because I'm going to be going through it piece by piece. Of course, Alexa wants to start talking now. All day, Alexa hasn't talked, and now Alexa's talking. All right. Failure to reimburse business expenses, failure to pay all wages upon separation, failure to furnish accurate itemized wage statements, unfair, unlawful, or fraudulent business practices. That's whatever. This is where it gets nasty. I mean, the corporate stuff is the corporate stuff. I mean, by now, if you think that corporations are your friend, they're not. They've never been your friend. Even when you work for them, they're not your friend. They will do anything to fuck you over. I mean, I lived it. Like in a sales environment in corporate America, your numbers change every single year, your quotas change every single year, and they somehow manage to adjust quotas and adjust compensation packages that go up and go down to negatively impact you, the employee. It happens all the time, especially in commission-based sales, which is where I worked. Individual complaint: sexual battery. Hostile work environment, sex, gender, hostile work environment, race, national origin, hostile work environment, disability, failure to prevent harassment, negligent supervision, hiring and retention, retaliation, wrongful termination. Now, there are multiple parties to this lawsuit. Fox, obviously, they're in it. Charlie Dixon, who's a vice president, what is his position specifically? Let me find Charlie. He's an executive vice president of content for FS1, Fox's flagship multi-sport national network, overseeing all content and production of the network. He was in July 2016 the very first significant hiring of former Fox Sports president Jamie Horowitz, who was terminated from Fox due to reports of sexual harassment. I mean, bro. Because Charlie Dixon still works there. Still works there. Now, then you have Skip Bayless. And I'm going to do a video. This is going to be a segmented one. So this is going to be a Joy Taylor one. I'm going to do one on Skip Bayless separately. So understand, I'm not going to get into the entire complaint. I'm going to do Skip Bayless on a separate one. I'm going to do Joy Taylor first. Because Joy Taylor is the one, for me, who comes across and is that feminist, aggressive, attacking, always with something negative to say about men. And it is non-stop with her. Her podcast, the stuff that I've seen, all she does is take a dump on men. It's all she does. She has no knowledge of sports, even though I don't think she did track when she was at Barry or in high school or whatever. But she has no real knowledge of sports. She never provides anything that remotely is a thought that will benefit any viewer while being on a stage with professional athletes who have done it. Why the hell am I listening to Joy Taylor when next to her is Paul Pierce or LaShawn McCoy or even Emmanuel Acho, who is involved in this complaint, and or any other pro athlete that she's been, or any journalist that she's been on with before, Colin Coward, who's got 35 years of experience, and she's sitting there as the little Barbie doll on stage with him, or the Skip and the Undisputed Show with Shannon Sharp and Skip Bayless, who even with Skip Bayless has 50 plus years of experience while she has none. And of course, Shannon Sharp was a Hall of Fame football player. What can you possibly bring to our show? Nothing. You are supposed to moderate and just ask the question for us to answer. And she is that in that role of the Molly Curran who no one wants to hear from, but who always thinks that her opinion matters. No, it doesn't. And I may come off as a misogynistic, sexist prick. I don't give a shit. I am a sports person, and I am not interested in Joy Taylor's opinion. I am not interested in Molly Curran's opinion. If you have not done this groundwork, and that doesn't mean I'm not interested in a woman's opinion on sports. That's not what I'm saying. If you have not done, if your role is to be a pretty face on a screen, you didn't earn your role. You didn't beat the door and pound the pavement to get in that role. It's the same thing with the Malika Andrews of the world. Like, please, what did Malika Andrews really do to get her job? She's pretty. So we can only imagine the skeletons in that fucking closet right now. But we're going to talk about Joy Taylor here, and Skip Bayless will be in a separate video. Now, I'm going to jump into this complaint right here where, let's see here. Okay. So here we go. Approximately March of 2016, Miss Faraji met Miss Taylor, Joy Taylor, an aspiring sports personality that had recently moved from Miami to Los Angeles for the opportunity of airtime at Fox. At the time, Miss Taylor did not have a regular position, but would fill in on a day-to-day basis when talent was sick or otherwise missed time. Miss Taylor told Miss Faraji that she was recently wed, but her husband remained in Miami and that she was lonely in Los Angeles. Miss Taylor then befriended Miss Faraji. In approximately May of 2016, Miss Taylor asked Miss Faraji to meet for a drink in Santa Monica. When Miss Faraji arrived, she found Miss Taylor with an older man, Fox Sports Executive Vice President of Content, Mr. Dixon. As Executive Vice President, Mr. Dixon is responsible for overseeing all content and production on FS1. Miss Faraji, however, did not know Mr. Dixon. When Mr. Dixon went to buy them another round of spicy margaritas, Miss Faraji asked who he was. Miss Taylor responded that he was just a friend. Sure. Following that night, whenever Miss Faraji would meet with Miss Taylor for food and drinks and food, Mr. Dixon would either arrive with Miss Taylor or show up later in the night and leave with Miss Taylor. He would always buy rounds of drinks or food. From their body language, Miss Faraji suspected the pair were sleeping with each other. And although this concerned Miss Faraji, as she knew Miss Taylor was recently married, Miss Faraji kept her opinions to herself. In approximately June 2016, while at work, Miss Faraji noticed Mr. Dixon in the elevator. Surprised by the coincidence, Miss Faraji found Miss Taylor and told her excitedly, "The guy who always buys our drinks was in the elevator." Miss Taylor quickly silenced Miss Faraji, explaining who he was. Miss Faraji became alarmed and warned Miss Taylor that such a relationship was unsafe. Miss Taylor told her not to worry about it. Miss Faraji continued to be friends with Miss Taylor, but tried to distance herself as she considered the situation dangerous, as well as morally wrong, as Miss Taylor and Mr. Dixon were both married. Now, let's jump into that. Joy Taylor has a history. See, You may not get all this in the complaint. I don't know if you're gonna. I've read most of it, but she has a history. Joy Taylor was married to a former University of Miami baseball player, Richard Giannotti. Richard Giannotti played at St. Thomas Aquinas. I know this because I covered him when he was in high school. See, I have knowledge of this stuff. I worked for I covered sports for the Miami Herald and the Sun Sentinel, and I covered Richard Giannotti when he was in high school. I also, when I was when I had my website called InsideTheU.com with a couple of partners, I covered Richard Giannotti when he played at the University of Miami. So I'm very well aware of who Richard Giannotti is. That is her former husband, and his name is not mentioned here, but that's the person who's being referred to in this. So Joy Taylor was married to Richard Giannotti. The marriage lasted basically a year, seemingly because she almost immediately left for LA when she got married and started allegedly porking the fucking executive VP, Charlie Dixon, because she was lonely. But Joy Taylor's also said previously that she was the victim of domestic abuse during an episode of Undisputed in 2017. She was at one point she was engaged to former NBA point guard and head coach Earl Watson. The couple split in November of 2019. I think that's part of this one as well, if you actually, as you read on in this complaint. But Joy Taylor has she has some baggage. And I think there's certainly a part of Joy Taylor who just hates men, because the way she speaks about men on her podcast indicates that there is a massive disdain for men. No man wants her, yet she's allegedly smashing the executive VP, and then later on allegedly smashing a co-host who helped get her a job, which we will go into. But again, this is Joy Taylor, who, with all of her experience as a secondary person at, was it 790 or six? It was what was the 790? It was 790 the ticket with Jonathan Zaslow. Jonathan Zaslow is a longtime personality in radio in Miami. He now has a podcast. He does a lot of work for different organizations. Great at what he does. He was the voice of that show. Like, there's so many more experienced radio personalities that have come out of Miami. Yet Joy, like, I'll give you an example. Jorge Sedano, fantastic radio guy. He was on the radio for years down here before he got a shot at ESPN. It wasn't like it was a couple years. He was here for years. Joy Taylor in 3 years, part-time radio personality, side bartender, gets a job at Fox Sports FS1 to be on television with no television experience whatsoever. I mean, you don't go, usually you'll go from like some small butt shit station in Idaho before you get these opportunities. Like when I have a degree in journalism. When I was in school, the print journalist professor said, be prepared. He put up a can of beans and a bag of rice. He says, prepare to live on this. If you want to be a journalist, prepare to live on beans and rice, because that's what you'll be able to afford with the salary you'll make wherever you go as a print journalist. That's what he said. And he said, be also prepared to move 2,000 miles from here to some butt shit town in the middle of Nowheresville, USA, because you're not just going to write, you're going to edit, you're going to design the newspaper, you're going to do all the work. And you'll make $17,000, $18,000, $20,000 a year. This was in 1999, 2000 when I was told this by this professor. And you're hearing this, you're like, I make 40 grand right now working in a law firm at 22, 23. Like, how the hell am I supposed to live on 18 grand a year? Like 40 grand. This is in 2000 in Miami. I mean, shoot, the rent was still $800 a month. Now that rent is probably 3 times that. But come on. So you hear this, you're like, oh my word. And people do it. People do it. That's why there's no question that Her entire career has been impacted greatly by her brother being Jason Taylor and being a Hall of Fame football player and having a pretty face. Because in the land of Miami, and I did watch Jason Whitlock's response to this, so which actually gave me some other information that I didn't know because he obviously worked at Fox Sports 1, and he uses other words and refers to her as her big tits and basically and her peanut butter skin. He stayed away from her. I found that very amusing. But in the world of Miami, people like fat asses, bluntly. In the Miami world, Joy Taylor's an attractive woman, but she's not some 9 or 10 on the Richter scale of beauty. Clearly, she's enhanced herself with surgical procedures. Clearly. That's fine. You're free to do what you want. I have no problem with you doing what you want. But she's clearly made her boobs a whole lot bigger to throw them in people's faces, as Whitlock said on his video. No question about it. Her breasts are always pushed up. I mean, the pictures that you see her on Instagram, I mean, she looks. The funny thing about the feminist and Joy Taylor is that she posts herself as halfway naked so many times on Instagram. It's utterly crazy, right? But it was the men. The men want her. The men want her. Every man wants her. But every man's ugly, according to her. Every man's ugly. She's fucking a 60-year-old, for Christ's sakes. Allegedly. She's allegedly smashed. How old Charlie Dixon is? I don't know who he is. I don't care who he is. Let me look at Charlie Dixon's age. It doesn't say. Oh, gosh, how old is this guy? How old is this guy? This guy, I want to see when he graduated from college. This guy has been in media for quite some. He graduated. God, he's 50. He graduated from college in 97. I'm 47. He's about 50. He looks way older than me, folks. Folks, I mean, give me some credit here. I'm going to stop this screen for 1 second. I want to show you what this man looks like. And you tell me if that man looks like he's 50 or if I just look young as shit, man. I mean, you can give me one right here. This is Charlie Dixon. I'm 47. That guy's about 50, 51 maybe. Does he look 51 or 50? He looks, to me, he looks older than that. Or I look like I'm 35. I mean, it's okay. I gotcha, folks. Yes. I know I look like I'm 35. I get it. But like this is utter bananas, folks. This is, I mean, my gosh. But yeah, so let's go back to this complaint. In approximately July 2016, word spread amongst Fox's employees about a new show that was going to be a big deal as it would star Mr. Skip Bayless and Shannon Sharpe. It was known that Fox was looking for a woman with significant TV experience. So you call Joy Taylor? Really? The most inexperienced person you can possibly find? Therefore, it came as a surprise when Fox announced that Miss Taylor, who was a bartender and radio host in Miami with very little TV experience, would be the moderator of the new show, a sports debate program, Skip and Shannon Undisputed. Mr. Bayless later disclosed to Miss Faraji that he did not want Miss Taylor on the show, but Mr. Dixon was adamant that Miss Taylor should star. At first, Mr. Dixon arranged a dinner between Mr. Bayless and Taylor, where she arrived in provocative clothing, which I'm sure was what she did, because every picture she takes on Instagram is provocative in dress. Even how she dresses for her TV shows now is provocative in dress. When that did not change Bayless's opinion of Taylor, Dixon asked him to approve of her as a favor to him. Reluctantly, Bayless agreed to do so as a favor to his friend. So she got hired because his friend, who was allegedly smashing Joy Taylor, asked him to, over having actually an experienced individual on the show. Around August of 16, Miss Faraji attended a dinner with Miss Taylor and her husband, Richard Giannotti, and Dixon and his wife. During the dinner, Taylor's husband became suspicious that Taylor and Dixon were having a sexual relationship. I can only imagine how uncomfortable that dinner must have allegedly been for Faraji. Soon after the dinner, Taylor's husband found evidence of inappropriate relationship with and divorced Miss Taylor. Their marriage lasted a year. Because why else? Why else? Why else? I'm sure Taylor will say that something else was why, but she's a gaslighter and she's a feminist and she is an attacker of men. So she will always find a way to make herself the victim. In approximately September of 16, Undisputed started. Taylor requested Faraji to do her hair. Oh, so sweet. November 16, after not allowing anyone to touch his hair, Bayless also requested Faraji to do his hair. Now you have the parts where Dixon gropes Faraji. Well, let me see here, where he's always heavily drinking and buying drinks for everyone on a Fox credit card, blustering that everything purchased was on Fox's dime. If Faraji was standing near a bar facing the crowd, Dixon approached her and put his arm on her lower back and asked her how she was doing, if she was having fun, and she wanted a tequila shot. She felt uncomfortable and by his unsolicited touching and responded, no, thank you. He then started rubbing her body and grabbing her ass. Faraji was mortified. I love those words, those trigger words, mortified. That quickly thought to fake an incoming call to escape from the situation. She did not know who to turn to, but she knew Taylor was sleeping with Mr. Dixon, so she turned to her. Taylor told her to get over it. I can't believe it. You've heard how she speaks by now on television. I mean, Joy Taylor is a feminist, right? But she's also masculine as hell, right? And what I mean by that is she hates men, but she acts like a man. That's man shit, right? Like she's acting like a dude. Get over it. Get over it. Get over that the executive vice president of Fox Sports is grabbing her ass at a party. The married executive vice president. I mean, this is a reality television show, folks. And explain that she herself only had her job because of Dixon, and that Faraji only had her job because Taylor requested her. She warned that Dixon could take both away. Faraji was terrified and then turned to her coworker, Anonymous One, to discuss the situation. Anonymous responded, Dixon was disgusting, that the entire situation was sick, but it wasn't shocking given Fox's culture, and that Faraji should remain quiet if she wanted to keep her job as a single mother. She said she stayed silent. 7 years later, someone named Miss Peretti told Faraji that she did not like her or anything about Undisputed. Miss Peretti expanded that she already scheduled someone for hair on Undisputed when Dixon called her and told her that she must put Faraji on Undisputed full time. I don't know who Miss Peretti is. Let's see if I find who she is. Yeah, who cares? Who cares? Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. Peretti told Faraji, I didn't like that. That's not how things should be done. Faraji was stunned and devastated as she prides herself on her work and earning her accolades. Later that day, while thinking about her career, she was angry that Peretti succumbed to Dixon's request, as it gave Mr. Dixon the feeling that he could grope her for giving her a job. Now it's several years into Faraji's tenure at Fox. Anonymous hired Faraji to do her hair at her house for an award show. Anonymous asked Faraji to meet her for lunch first. Anonymous told Faraji that she would no longer be with Fox, as Dixon told her that she would need to have sex with him if she wanted to renew her contract, but she refused. Anonymous further conveyed that Dixon was doing this to other women talent. She should warn Taylor to be careful. A talk show host had recently reported Dixon. Following the lunch, Faraji called Taylor to convey what Anonymous had stated. Taylor responded that no one gives a fuck about Anonymous or the talk show host who had reported Dixon. Faraji later observed that Taylor's remarks appeared accurate as no actions were taken to address the concerns raised. If it is not already apparent, it became more clear that Fox enabled high-ranking individuals to abuse their authority, exerting undue control over female talent and employees. This is something that Jason Whitlock stated in his video today, where he said in around 2016-17, this type of this behavior was pervasive at Fox. That it was well known that people were smashing left and right at Fox. talent smashing execs. It was all happening. It was all happening. That's what Jason Whitlock has said. Whether you want to believe Whitlock or not, he no longer works at Fox. He has nothing to gain from this. He does a show that has a few hundreds of thousands of subscribers. And there's been stories about Shannon Sharp involved. There's, of course, where there's a file on him on HR that's through the roof because apparently he potentially was smashing a whole lot of people allegedly. But this is where it gets a little crazy to me, even more than this. This is one about this is okay. Let me find it right here. This is then against the Bayless. I don't care about that right now. I will talk about Bayless in another episode of this, another video, because otherwise this is going for 2-3 hours. Now, where is it right here? In approximately summer of 2018, Taylor was moved from undisputed to the herd with Colin Cowherd. So now she's in a job where her opinion actually matters. And that's what's crazy is that she still has no knowledge of real sports. She doesn't know sports. Just because your brother played NFL doesn't mean you know sports. You might know a little football, but I don't want to hear your opinion on anything else. I don't even want to hear your opinion on football. I don't. Taylor again requested Faraji to do her hair. Cowherd also requested she do his hair. Every day, Faraji would do Skip's hair, Undisputed, then Taylor and Cowherd's hair for the herd. Throughout her entire tenure at Fox, Cowherd was professional, respectful of Faraji and her coworkers. See, that's what makes you know that's what makes you know that this isn't some hit squad shit. This isn't a hit piece. This isn't some we're gonna put everyone's name on there and hope something sticks to the wall, right? Because she says here, this complaint states that Cowherd was always professional. Always professional. So this is not some hit piece. This is a legitimate lawsuit, right? Around this time, after learning of Taylor and Dixon's sexual relationship, Taylor's then fiance, that would be Earl Watson. That would be Earl Watson, the former NBA point guard and head coach, because this is after she's gotten divorced from her 1-year marriage from Richard Giannotti. Miss Taylor's then fiance broke off the engagement and threatened to go public. So Earl Watson was going to dime everybody out. God, I wish he had. That would have been some freaking made for TV special. And maybe we wouldn't be subjugated to listening to Joy, some moderator who has some level of sports intelligence where we give a damn about her opinion. I mean, all the clips that we get to see on Instagram and YouTube with her opinion on sports that we don't really want to begin with. We don't want them. She acts like she's so flippin' special. So Earl Watson threatened to go public. On the information and belief, Dixon paid for the wedding deposits in an informal exchange for her fiance's silence. Why is my camera popping? And this is the final piece of Joy Taylor in this lawsuit, I believe. In approximately February of 2020, Taylor asked Faraji to meet her for lunch in Beverly Hills. Now, I will say this. I understand why Faraji continued to have this friendship or this relationship, this working relationship with Taylor, because obviously it's her job and she's making money and the whole nine. But at a certain point, you would say you might want to look for another job because this is a toxic environment. But you didn't leave. And that's where people will probably question Faraji, like, well, why didn't you leave? And of course, she'll say, well, it's my career. I have a kid, blah, blah, blah. That's all fine and good. But there are other hair places. There are other people's hair you can do. There's other places you can go work and do hair, not just at Fox Sports 1. You're in LA. Every network is there. You could find somewhere else to be. I mean, that's just my thought process. But this is where it gets even better. When Faraji arrived, she found Taylor with Emmanuel Acho. Emmanuel Acho. Oh my goodness. A guy that she's currently working on a television show with. I mean, my God. Faraji did not know Acho, but could tell the two were romantically involved. And it's according to Jason Whitlock, during COVID, Joy Taylor and Emmanuel Acho were living together. So you goddamn well know they were allegedly smashing. They were in a relationship. Whether it's a dating relationship or a porking relationship, they were in a relationship. And of course, a few months after meeting Acho at lunch, Faraji noticed him in the hallway while at work. Faraji later asked Taylor if Acho also worked at Fox. Taylor confirmed and explained that she wanted Acho to eventually recommend her on the show Speak for Yourself. Faraji became alarmed and warned Taylor that she should probably not sleep with Dixon and Acho. That sounds like freaking silly crap. You shouldn't do that. Well, I mean, it's common sense you shouldn't do that. But if you're doing it strategically because you're trying to enhance your career and you know the ulterior motives that Joy Taylor allegedly has, guess what? She's gonna do it because she doesn't like men and she doesn't care whose career she destroys, on whose home she wrecks. Mind you, the guy Dixon should have some caring about his own home and the fact that he's gonna wreck his own home. And I would presume by now it's been wrecked. If his wife is seeing this now, which I'm sure she has, the divorce papers should be on the table. But she said she probably should not sleep with Dixon and Acho at the same time. Dixon is a very powerful man that may become very angry. Taylor told her not to worry about it. She explained that now she has power too. And once Dixon is no longer useful to her, she would follow through on her plan to tell the company that he raped her, forced himself on her. That's another definition of raping her, assaulting her. She would not allow herself to be forced out by Dixon like other women talent. In September 2022, Taylor started to work on Speak. Taylor requested Faraji to do her hair. Joy Taylor owned Faraji. She owned her. And then the relationship between Taylor and Faraji ended. October 2021, Miss Faraji's friendship with Taylor ended. Taylor then began insulting Faraji on a personal, professional level. In early June 2023, the treatment reached a breaking point as Taylor began openly mocking Faraji's English and complaining about Faraji's humming, an involuntary subconscious coping mechanism for her diagnosed PTSD. Taylor then began stating that she needed a black hairstylist. Faraji and her coworkers hoped that Fox could see through the facade, as Faraji had been doing Taylor's hair for 7 years, Taylor's own request without any complaint, and had been working on textured hair for decades. Faraji was called, I guess Miss Peretti is HR. Faraji should still go in every morning set up for hair. Taylor no longer needed her as a hairstylist. Peretti explained that Faraji was to work from 5 a.m. to 9 a.m., blah, blah, blah. Peretti then hired 2 new black hairstylists to work from 9 to 3, as Taylor is very picky with her hair. She did not like the work of the 2 new black hairstylists and asked a coworker who was a Latina woman to do her hair 5 days a week. The coworker declined. In mid-July 2023, Anna Drucker, Fox's vice president of employee relations, asked Faraji for a meeting. At the meeting, Drucker asked if Taylor was having a sexual relationship with Acho. Faraji admitted that the two were in a sexual relationship. Faraji shared this information because she didn't think it was a big deal, because they were both similarly powerful, and she didn't think Taylor Acho would physically harm her for providing this information. Acho had been respectful. Faraji never threatened or to hurt her. There were complaints of her humming, which is nuts. There was questions on whether or not she had actually made it public that Dixon and Taylor were having sex. Faraji became scared as Dixon had previously assaulted her, and Taylor warned that he'd fire her. I mean, this is craziness, man. Seriously. And that is the gist of it involving Joy Taylor. Now I'm going to show you a couple of video clips that I have where I'm going to show you what a clown show this whole thing is. Now I'm going to show you a video, and I did get this from Whitlock's video because I don't have the staff to pull all this stuff. But this video is Joy Taylor on I Am Athlete with Brandon Marshall and I think it's LaShawn McCoy. And she talks about how she made her way to the top, to this position. And I want to play this because I just think this is this is clown level for real. This is clown level. You take a look and you let me know your thoughts.
Same time, how would I not know how hard it is to do the show I work on? You have to constantly reaffirm that you are good enough, that you belong there, and then always prove it. So I would just always say you got to do twice the work to get half the opportunity. But that, to me, the mentality I've always had on it is that just going to make me better. So that's why I'm excellent. Because I had to be. I couldn't be average. I couldn't be okay. I couldn't be late. I couldn't complain. I couldn't say no. Now I do.
Right. Let's play this again because this is a circus. I had to be excellent. You must be the only person who thinks you're excellent at what you do. Because there's not a sane human being on earth who watches Speak or has watched you on Coward or watched you on Undisputed or even heard you on the radio in South Florida who thought you were excellent. They looked at you as a pretty face. Which, if you want to be real, she's caked up as hell. She's tons of makeup. I mean, I have no problem with makeup, but like let's be real. Let's play this again because I want to hit on every one of these things you said right here.
Up call, same time. How would I not know how hard it is to do the show I work on? You have to constantly reaffirm that you are good enough, that you belong there, and then always prove it. So
But what made her good enough to get there? That's the whole point. That's why this whole thing is a mess. That's why these allegations realistically make a lot of sense. They make sense because there was no logical reasoning that this woman ever got this job to begin with. She got the job because of her brother, no question about it. She got the job on the radio because of her brother. I want you folks to truly understand how hard it is to get a job on the radio in a major metropolitan area with no experience. No experience. These people fight for these jobs. I'm telling you, they fight for them. They work for years to get these opportunities to be in a large metro market morning radio sports talk show. I mean, I would have loved to have had that opportunity. As you see, I love to talk, and I got plenty to say. Those opportunities, they don't come. It's typically who you know, when you know them, and how you know them. Or if your brother is in the Hall of Fame. Your brother is the most famous football player south of Dan Marino in the last 35 years in Miami. Like beyond Dan Marino, Jason Taylor is the most famous Miami Dolphin down here. You got your job because of your brother. Fine. But don't sit here and act like you had to work so hard for that job. You had no experience getting that job. None. You worked at your school? Freaking give me a break. You didn't have to leave South Florida to go get on the radio in Podunk, Idaho, or Iowa, or Nebraska, or Kansas, or one of these small town city with a listening group of 100. You didn't have to do that. You skipped the line with no experience, and you're sitting here saying about how you'd be excellent? Come on.
I would just always say you got to do twice the work to get half the opportunity. But that, to me, the mentality I've always had on it is that just going to make me better. So that's why I'm excellent. Because I had to be. I couldn't be average. I couldn't be okay. I couldn't be late. I couldn't complain. I couldn't say no. Now I do.
Apparently now, yeah, she didn't say no to getting porked, allegedly. She didn't say no to getting porked by Charlie Dixon and Emmanuel Acho, allegedly. She said yes because she wanted to enhance her career. No question about it. Again, it's all allegedly, but you're not, I mean, lawyers are not allowed to draft out complaints that they know to be lies. So yes, this is all from the client telling the lawyer what happened, how it happened, blah, blah, blah. And the lawyer in this case is someone named Ayazi Abney, Rana Ayazi. I don't know who that is. Let me look up, that's the firm, Ayazi Abney. Let me look up the firm. Rana Ayazi. But yeah, this is definitely, there's dirt here. I mean, this lawyer worked at Greenberg Traurig, so this is not some schmuck lawyer. This is a lawyer that worked at one of the largest law firms in the country at one point. Went to University of Michigan. Michigan's one of the top law schools in the nation. Went to UCLA undergrad. I mean, this is who we're. He's a younger lawyer, but hey, you don't go to Michigan and UCLA and not have some hellified intelligence. But that's the one video where she's sitting here telling you how she had to be excellent, where there's no one on earth that would ever say she's excellent. No, nobody. But then you have this video right here with Emmanuel Acho after she gets this job, after she's been allegedly sleeping with Emmanuel Acho, definitely living with Emmanuel Acho, according to Whitlock. And you look at this situation and you're sitting here saying this guy is such a puppet. And when he uses those words, those fucking words, misogynist and sexism and all that crap, bro, Acho, this girl used your stupid ass to get what she wanted, and you gave it to her, and now she owns your dumb ass. Like Joy Taylor owns Emmanuel Acho now. And I'm gonna play this real fast, and I'm gonna give you my final thoughts on this particular situation.
With rehearsal for the new show Speak, and I got to take a moment to shout out my co-host Joy Taylor, a woman, a black woman, daily show, sports. Do you all realize how hard it is to get into the position that she is in? So often there's misogyny and sexism running rampant in sports, and we don't even care what women have to say in sports. But Joy is not only in the position on television as a woman, as a black woman, but as an opinionist. So not just asking men what they think, but providing her own unique and distinct insight. It's hard to do, and Joy, you have done it. So congratulations. Looking forward to working with you, and hope y'all tune in 4:30 to 6 Eastern every day starting next week.
That was on September 1st, 2022. No one has ever asked Joy Taylor for her opinion. Can we stop this? No one on those TV shows has ever asked Joy Taylor for her opinion. Get out of here. She's never written a story. She's never broken a story. A journalist breaks stories, whether you're in broadcast or print. I apologize for the video drop. I don't know what's going on there. Acho is not a journalist. LaShawn McCoy is not a journalist. Paul Pierce is not a journalist. They are television personalities now because they're former athletes. Jason Whitlock is a journalist. Colin Cowherd, a journalist. Even Skip Bayless, a journalist. Stephen A. Smith, journalist. All these men had to work to get to the point where they got on television because they were at the top of their respective professions. And they had personalities that would also be something that people would want to watch on television. Remember, there's a saying you have a face for radio, which means you're pretty much not attractive. But these guys' opinions, even Whitlock, who's 300 plus pounds, probably isn't most women would not find him appealing. The man was so good at what he did that they overlooked the fact that the guy is not physically appealing to look at by most women. Skip Bayless got on TV because his opinions are so far off and so to one side that they overlooked the fact that he's old as shit. So you have guys that were print guys, radio guys, all that stuff, Joy Taylor was never a print person. She got a gift to be on a local radio show and parlayed that from local radio, part-time bar as a bartender, to a job at Fox Sports 1. Like, that doesn't happen, folks. That's why you know there were other things that were done to get her in that position that she had nothing to do with. Maybe her brother got her the job and then she parlayed it into a relationship with an executive vice president, allegedly. But Emmanuel Acho's clip right there, he deleted it off of social media. That clip was deleted. He is scrubbing his social media. When there's smoke, there's fire. There is fire here, people. You can sit here and say that this woman is lying if you want to. Nushin Faraji, you can say it if you want to. I learned a long time ago, and I learned this because I never did this, but I learned it because it always seemed very scary to me when people, and I learned this I learned this when I was I learned this ages ago. You never shit where you eat. And what that means is, if you don't know what that means, is you never shit where you eat. So if you own a business or you work at a company, you do not get involved with coworkers. Friendships with coworkers are always they're not going to end up in your favor, especially when you're involved with someone from the opposite sex. That is just the reality. It's the reality of life. I learned that specifically when I was in my mid-20s, and I'm admitting what I did. I got a picture from someone on a text, and it was a graphic picture. I'm a young guy, stupid, not thinking about it, chit-chatting with this person at the office, not thinking, show it to the person, like, look at this shit. Person laughs, thought it was funny as hell, showed it to somebody else. This is a law firm. Laughs, thought it was hilarious. Oh my God, oh my God, that's so crazy, blah, blah, blah. No, I thought nothing of it. And this is not a sexual relationship. I showed them a picture of something that was texted to me. This was in 2005. I was in my mid to late 20s, something like that. Something around there, around 7. So I was just about 30. I was almost 30. I was still stupid. You're still young and dumb. You still make dumb mistakes. And I get a phone call and I was temping at that place actually at that moment. I get a phone call from the temp agency saying they don't want you to come back. I'm like, why? Because you showed a photo that was graphic. I said, what? Did you? I'm like, yeah, they both laughed. They thought it was hilarious. Well, apparently they didn't think it was that hilarious because they complained, they called the agency, and they told me not to come back. One was a man, one was a woman. So it was a young guy and a young woman. And they both laughed, and the agency no longer could work with me. I learned it that day, especially because before that I had worked with my dad's law firm. I worked in a smaller family law practice. But that day especially, I learned that I'm not here to be anyone's friend. I work with you, and that's what I do. And in my next law firm, I would, in subsequent firms that I worked at after that, I was a law firm administrator. So in that position, I was a paralegal, but I was a law firm administrator. And in subsequent positions, I would see people, women and men, clearly getting involved, hearing all the chit chat and chatter because I was an administrator of the law firm. And you were hearing stories about lawyers and paralegals getting it on. Lawyers and lawyers, paralegals and paralegals doing their thing. You would hear these stories and you knew it was going on. You don't shit where you eat. Nothing good can come of it. Nothing good unless you're Joy Taylor and you're doing it to set someone up, allegedly. You're using them for a purpose. And men are dumb. We as men are dumb. We will fall for anything. A woman, I mean, this is a married man who will risk his marriage for what? With a coworker who could destroy him. Dixon doesn't own Taylor. Taylor owns Dixon. She owns him. She could get whatever job she wants at Fox Sports if she wants. Any job she wants, she can have it. What makes her qualified to be up there with LaShawn McCoy, Paul Pierce, and Keyshawn Johnson? Absolutely nothing. Her hard work, her dedication. Get out of here. You do not shit where you eat. And people, and this goes in just in life, man. And then when I was at that corporate job, you would hear stories about reps getting it on with reps at annual conferences and the whole nine, and it would get like, are you guys crazy? Like, y'all are risking a lot. Like, we get paid, man. And we don't get paid like what I'm sure George Taylor probably makes. I'm sure she makes probably $1 million a year. I don't know, but I'm sure she probably makes around that. We were making hella good money. We're making $1 million a year, but we're making hella good money. You're willing to risk that crap? And I mean, you would hear of reps getting fired at the conference for inappropriate behavior. You can't trust anybody, not a male or a female. No matter whether if you're a guy, you can't trust anybody. You don't say anything. Diarrhea of the mouth will get you in trouble. But you do not shit where you eat unless you're setting people up. And while, again, I don't know this to be true, Joy Taylor's history, her background, the things that I know because I'm in South Florida, and her lack of experience and somehow parlaying this job that no one ever gets, getting the first job that is so hard to get, is literally impossible to get without someone calling somebody. It's one of those things where, and with her utter disdain for men on her podcast, her hatred of men, she hates men. She thinks every man wants her. Newsflash, Joy, you got big tits. We know this. You got big tits. You have a pretty face. You got an irritating ass voice, and you got no booty. And we in Miami, we like booty. Men like ass in Miami. So you might be a 7 over there, an 8 over there. In Miami, you're a 6. Your ego is huge. And if any of this is true, and I am sure a lot of it's true, what is Fox Sports going to do? Because if this was a man, he'd be fired immediately. Understand that. If this was a man, first of all, every single one involved in this should be terminated tomorrow, today, yesterday. That means Dixon, Acho, and Taylor should all be dismissed immediately by Fox Sports 1 to cover their ass. Because they're already looking like a company that allows this type of toxic behavior to exist within their media organization. Holy crap. As I said, allegedly across the board. I'm using the word allegedly for everything. But I know what I know, and I know that woman was married to Richard Giannotti, and in that story, they were divorced in a year, and that explains it. And I know that the guy that this guy wanted to pay for the wedding for, pay the deposits for, was Earl Watson. And you see how chummy this woman is with these guys. You see it. There's a reason men and women can't really be friends. And you might tell me I'm crazy. Bullshit. Men and women can be cordial, can be friendly friends. Nah, man. Too much bad can happen. And when I listened to Whitlock's thing today, I was dying because he says, I know me. Stay away from me because I know me with your peanut butter skin and your big rack and putting them titties in my face type of stuff. Oh my God. That was classic when he said the peanut butter. He said the peanut butter skin like 10 times. I thought that was the funniest shit ever. I'm telling you right now, folks, do not shit where you eat. And I'll tell you, and I really believe this. All of them should be fired. I don't even give a. The fact that this is a lawsuit. Any man go. Deshaun Watson got suspended for how long by the NFL? Like that, can you imagine the allegation of a woman saying this woman was setting this man up to accuse him of rape and sexual assault and make her a Me Too movement once he was no longer necessary? You have to be one evil sack of human garbage. It's bad enough that you, a married woman, were smashing him, a married man, and that he, a married man, was smashing you, a married woman. But I guarantee you that man did not want his wife to know. And I guarantee you that that man did not want your husband to know. But you would actually purposely, allegedly look to destroy him once you've gotten your use from him. Because you hate men that much. You've got to be one low-level, evil human being. Evil. But that's all I got, folks. That's my commentary. That's my knowledge and background of this situation. Reading, going through this lawsuit. This is crazy. And I will be doing a part on Skip Bayless as well. So that'll be done tomorrow. By tomorrow. Because this is taking me upwards of an hour. And I still have to edit and all that good stuff. But folks, I appreciate y'all sticking with me on this. I hope you enjoy this background on this lawsuit, the information about Taylor and her come up, her meteoric come up, and her feminism. Because now she's going to get, I'm waiting for her commentary. Let's see what she has to say. She can't say anything. She's being sued. She's being sued, so she can't say a word. What is Fox Sports going to do? I look forward to it. Let me know your thoughts in the comments. This is Rudy's Rant. We talk facts over feelings. Be sure to like, subscribe, follow, ring that bell, leave a comment. I want to know what you think. Come on now.